Okay, so hi everybody, welcome to the show. The stream has started and they're jumping on me already. Um,
It's a
hi,
cuddle puddle.
hi,
Hello, everyone, and welcome
hi,
to the
Jason.
Ensign's Log Live. Let's introduce ourselves. I'm Jason Harding.
I'm Dana.
I'm Steve Shives.
And this is the opportunity for everyone to ask questions and basically, I don't know, yell at us for the last season or...
Yeah, if you didn't enjoy it, just let us know. And also, actually, while we're waiting for folks to jump into the chat and ask us questions, what were you going to say something, Dana?
No, not saying anything. It's good. I'm good.
Somebody says, there's Sweet Chief. But no, someone actually, someone pre-submitted some questions for us.
That's right.
One of my patrons sent in a bunch of Ensign's Log questions because he has been binging the podcast and is not quite completely caught up to us yet, but I think has just kind of gotten started with season 4, so is almost caught up, but not quite. And
I'm not answering them.
I'm
not going to do it.
Well, I'll pose the questions and you can answer if you feel like it, or you can just tell them.
Fine.
Or
I'm only kidding. I'll answer them to the best of my ability.
Tell them to go fuck themselves.
I'm not going to do that to anyone that's a fan of the show, especially someone who has strapped themselves into a chair and listened to 80 episodes, probably in a row.
For free. You're welcome.
And this is also a shout out to the person that had to drive across the country and downloaded our entire show to listen to on the way.
Yes.
I am not saying their name because they asked me not to say it.
Because it would be compromising to them personally.
Well, I mean, some people don't want their name splashed all over the internet, Steve.
C-Mac's here.
Hey, C-Mac, what's up, buddy?
You didn't come to my show? It's okay. I still love you, man.
So anyway, here's some of the questions that Black Cover 95 sent in.
Let's see if this year goes better than last year, Dana.
Oh, why do you say that to Dana specifically?
Because I don't know anything about Star Trek, and I'm sorry.
I don't think that's why.
Last year, Steve was in charge of asking the questions and staying on top of the thing, and we kept having to do his job for him.
Oh my god!
Oh, but he's got these questions, and we don't even know what they are. So I mean, he can say whatever the heck he wants, and we'll just go. We'll have to go with it.
Okay.
Although I will say there's a question in chat. So Scott H, hang on to that. We've got a few questions that were
hang on to that, Scott H.
Hang on to that, please.
Let's give Jason.
Hang on to that, Scott.
Let's give Jason a chance
Jason.
to defend myself. I don't even know what the question is.
Let's give Jason a chance to blow off these questions first, and then we'll.
Okay.
And we'll blow off yours.
Okay. What's with the weird character assassination of Galactic Commissioner Ferris? I rewatched the Galileo 7, and he was perfectly normal. If anything, Kirk was the more entitled and obstructive one.
Right.
Why'd we have to do Commissioner Ferris like that?
Oh, because it was funny?
I don't know. It's not my fault.
It was
exactly
funny?
what I said. That's exactly what I said.
Okay, so here's what I did. I usually will watch... If most of our episodes, our Ensign Log episodes, take place before, during, or after the major events of one of the original series. And this one, the majority of everything that was going on was taking place on a planet where the crew was being attacked by giant cavemen. Wasn't that the episode?
Yeah, the Galileo. So yeah, they're trapped on the shuttlecraft, and
every time we saw, what's his name, Counselor Ferris?
Yeah, Commissioner Ferris.
He was always bringing up what? Section 15.
The law that gave him authority. Yeah.
The law that gave him authority. He kept bringing it up over and over again in the episode. And so it was just, remember, these are improvised. So I have a slight idea. I knew that I wanted that character specifically to appear in the episode. And then he just kind of got crazier and crazier as the improv went on. It's not necessarily a character assassination, but boy, oh boy, it does change his character a lot, doesn't it? And that he's made up the entire thing, that there is no plague, that he's deep down he's been keeping it together for this long, but now that Kirk's back, he loses, when he loses control, it was just funny, that's all. I don't have anything against Ferris and his stupid little cape.
Yeah. Well, and also, he's a make-believe man anyway, so Like,
he's a make-believe man.
It's not like his family is upset. I can't believe they talked about my father that way. Like, he's a
That's
make-believe
right.
man.
If you're upset about that, you don't want to hear what I have to say about Rumpelstiltskin.
Oh, so that'll be a fun episode when we make it to Deep Space Nine.
That's right. Oh my God.
Wait. What?
The Rumpelstiltskin is in Deep Space Nine.
We watched that episode, Dana.
Remember that fictional characters were appearing on the ship.
Yeah,
who else was there?
Rumpelstiltskin, Buck Bokai, and remember there was the fantasy version of Dax. The fantasy version of Dax from Julian's imagination. You remember that, right?
Nope. I remember Buck Bokai. I do remember Buck Bokai.
You don't remember the scene where the real Jadzia says, "She is submissive, isn't she? Is that how you see me?" Because we had a good laugh. You have no memory of this.
No.
Okay.
Y'all, I forget things. That is what I do.
Dana, it's the episode we watched last week. No, I'm kidding. It's been a few months.
That is a lie. Like,
it's
literally,
been a few months. It's been a few months.
I just told people that we watched, that we're going to watch Star Trek next week. So we just watched Hilda.
Yes.
Okay, Title 15.
Title 15.
It's Title 15.
Yeah. I have a Title 15.
I don't remember that either.
Okay. In episode 29, Jason's name is garbled. Was the audio messed up, or is his name really unpronounceable?
That was before we had decided to reveal our real names on the characters' real names on the show.
Right.
And so I think it's not just garbled. I did some kind of audio trick to just kind of garble it up before we did, because we hadn't really settled on what our last names were going to be, our real last names. But we knew we weren't going to be able to pull off the entire, using fake names on the podcast, because we pretty much knew we were going to burn through the original series and wind up on the Enterprise D, and I didn't want the characters to have named characters because I want them to be able to interact and it would get confusing. Yeah. So I figured season 1 was the most that we used them, and then by season 2 we were using our quote unquote
real names. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, because I know, like, before we revealed their real names, we went through a couple of different possibilities, like behind the scenes. I remember at one point you said you wanted the character names to just be our actual last names, and it would be Ensign Harding and Ensign Shives, but then we decided not to do that. And yeah, there will be before they dropped Riker and Barclay, there was a couple. Yeah. There were a couple of possibilities as to what their names would be.
Johnson and Splunk sounded better.
Yeah,
and so yeah, that was it.
Are Cyrano Jones and Harry Mudd really alike? Cyrano is a troublemaker, but not the smarmy con man Mudd is. Why do you think they're so similar?
Because they couldn't get Carmel to play that role again.
yeah. I think that it was supposed to be Harry Mudd. Yeah,
I think it was supposed to be Harry Mudd originally in like a first draft. Mm-hmm. They couldn't get him, and the two characters are very, very, very similar.
Yeah.
But they're played, of course, by different actors. In the show, I thought it would just be funny, since we've seen that apparently there are disguises that good in the Star Trek universe, thanks to like Discovery. That, of course, I've always maintained in my headcanon is that the Caramel portrayal is also just a holographic mask, and we actually don't know what
never see the real
what Harry Mudd actually looks like.
Yeah, and I mean
I have no idea what y'all are talking about, but I can go with it.
Okay.
Their role in the stories of their respective episodes is pretty much identical. Like, I mean, you might be able to say that, like, well, Cyrano has a slightly different personality than Mudd, but I mean, like, you can easily, at least I can, like, you can easily imagine Harry Mudd doing everything that Cyrano Jones does in
Cyrano Jones has a great name. Yeah. But that's about it. And lots of pockets. But
bummer. Oh, also a plus.
So many pockets. Dana, if you've never seen The Trouble with Tribbles, there are so many pockets on Cyrano Jones's costume.
As someone who wears women's clothing, I'm so jealous.
Where else is he going to keep the Tribbles?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Let's not ask that live.
I keep my Tribble back here on the stand on my dresser. But anyway,
I ate mine.
They're delicious, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
nothing but meat.
I was gonna. Have you watched?
That's not true. There's fuzz.
There's fur.
I know there's fuzz. Yes. See, that's not meat.
Jason, have you watched The Trouble with Edward?
No.
Now that you have Paramount Plus, it's one of the short treks. I think I told you about it. The one with
You've told me about it. Yeah,
with H. John Benjamin, and his character has almost that exact line in that short trek where he says, once you take the fur off, it just comes out in one piece and it's all meat like a scallop. What's with the weird music at the end of episode 49? Two ensigns walk into a bar. Has nothing to do with anything.
Oh, that's called an editing error.
I thought maybe
that is the weird music that was playing in the bar, and I think I accidentally left it at the end. When I'm editing, sometimes I'll put something at the end of a track with the intention of moving it to another position. Every once in a while, I'll forget one. And I think that's because you have to wait a long time, I think, to hear that music if you're listening all the way to the end. The only time I discovered it was I was listening to the episode, I was doing something, and then I heard the music and I went, I'll just leave it there as like an Easter egg. I'll just leave. That was on purpose.
Yeah.
Weird music. It'll get people thinking.
It's like that post-credit scene in the first MCU Spider-Man where you wait and you wait and you wait, and it's just Captain America coming in and sitting down and going, so you feel like you waited this long and now you're disappointed, or something like that. Is Spot based on in real life pets?
Yes. Lily. Lily, come here.
And you're gonna meet one.
Lily's not here. Maybe she'll show up later. Actually, Spot is based on who Lily replaced, kind of.
Yes.
It was. So I had a dog who has passed away since before the start of the show, Squishy, who was like my shadow, and he was always asleep right at my feet in his little dog bed. And to cover, in case the mic picked up his constant snoring, I decided I'll create a character that is always snoring. And luckily we had that episode where there was suddenly a dog. Granted with a horn, and that's why he's always asleep. One of the reasons why he's always asleep in those episodes, I think what did we say? He sleeps 28 hours a day,
right?
Something like that.
Yes, exactly.
Is exactly that. So in case we hear snoring, there's a few things that we covered. Yeah, Lily was scratching at the sliding glass door during recording of one episode, and we came up with the idea that it was Tina in lizard form scratching at her terrarium. But that was Lily. Like they say, background noise is flavor.
Okay, and then these last few I'm just going to throw out at once because they're all kind of related. So if Lenore's fugitive history is erased, does that mean Chiron is still populated? Are Beale and Lokai no longer the last two? If Steve changed history, does Memory Alpha have a different The Ensign's log than us? Where's the new timeline's log? And related to that, what version of the show did Dana actually grow up with?
So the only things that changed as far as Star Trek canon or Star Trek history are concerned, and this is the way I square it in my head, because I don't think we're coming back to it. The only thing that changed in the timeline is the relationship between Steve and Lenore. So that never happened. The planets that she destroyed never got destroyed, so Edith Keeler is still alive. I really hope I'm not spoiling anything for you if you haven't reached this point yet.
We're assuming that most people watching this have at least have listened to the end of season 4.
But if you remember, Lenore destroyed Alpha, what was it, Alpha 3?
Yeah.
Alpha 2, something like that?
The planet that we dropped Edith on.
The planet that we dropped Edith off on was destroyed by Lenore. The major things that Lenore does as far as starting to destroy, I was going to take it really far, like she was about to destroy Starfleet. But since I knew that we were going to have this punishment for Steve, I didn't think we needed to take it that far. So the stuff that she did as Lenore didn't happen, but the events in Star Trek did. So the episode stuff did happen. And the only person that remembers any of it is Steve.
Right.
So according to Memory Alpha, Lenore was cured of her crazy and went on and did stuff with her life. And so to rectify that, Q stepped in and honestly, Steve created this temporal, whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
It could also be the point where we split off from Star Trek.
And there are several, do whatever we want.
There are several places where if you're a fan and it doesn't square with you, that you could say, okay, when we went back in time in episode 4, was that the first time we did the breakaway?
I think so.
We went back in time. When we went back in time, that was Naked Now.
Right. Yes. Because the whole ship goes back in time.
Because the whole ship goes back in time. That's when we split off and became our own timeline. We became our own timeline when the universe was reset for Steve. I don't think we've had any other major like things that could break us away from the timeline per se. Or when we went back in time and saved Edith Keeler. Or not saved Edith, or killed Edith Keeler. You could say that.
And then went back later and tried to save her after we killed her.
Right.
Okay, so now to questions from the chat. And Scott H., thank you for being patient because you asked yours a while ago. It's a good question, though. It says...
Thank you, Scott H.
On the Next Generation, they drink synthahol. I'd like to get your characters' reactions to the synthahol. What do they think of it? So I would think that Steve and Jason probably don't even really drink it.
No, we have
access. We have access to real booze.
Yeah, we do. We do, and so does Guinan. Guinan has access to real booze too. The people who drink synthahols are I don't know why they're drinking it. If you can't get drunk, why do you drink the fucking stuff? It can't possibly be for the taste. What were you going to say, Dana?
So, what is synthahol?
It's alcohol that you can't make you drunk and you don't get hangovers.
Yeah,
it has none of the deleterious effects.
Yeah, apparently.
What?
No. No. What? No.
I love that you're just finding this out. This is great,
and that you're like appalled by it.
I'm confused. Okay, because that assumes that getting drunk is a deleterious effect. No,
it's not.
Getting drunk is the purpose.
It's not that it can't get you drunk. It's that you can shake it off.
Oh,
synthahol can get you drunk, but you can just shake it off. It doesn't you don't have a hangover or anything like that.
All I know is Scotty got drunk, but he didn't get drunk off of synthahol.
Well, no,
he got drunk off the real stuff.
Was that because he couldn't get drunk off of synthahol, or because he was a purist?
Someone remember when the guy in 10 Forward gave Scotty a synthahol scotch and he took one sip and wouldn't drink anymore. But I think the problem was that he didn't like the way it tasted, not that
that's right.
It couldn't get him drunk. Yeah. He was like, what in blazes is this?
It sounds like he's a purist. Get over yourself, dude.
Well, he's old,
But I mean, imagine that you ordered a steak and you got tofu in the shape of a steak. And you're like, nope.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with tofu. Now, the thing is, I have to think about it from my character.
Oh, no, I just ate some tofu right now. I don't have anything against tofu, but it wasn't what I wanted.
Yes, exactly. And don't tell me that it's steak, because it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Actually, don't tell me that it's beef, because it's not. It could,
mm-hmm.
Steak has more to do with like the way that it is cut and prepared.
And doesn't everyone on the show, with the exception of Data, have like a secret stash of alcohol in their quarters?
It seems like
literally everybody.
So why does it have to be a secret? Is it like
I don't know.
I don't think it's.
Wait,
really
you don't know?
It's just something.
My theory is that all the fucked up things that you encounter when you're on crewing for a Starfleet vessel, if they had a bar at the front of the ship that served real alcohol, it would. You'd have nothing but a bunch of drunks.
Oh, God.
But you can, if you can get drunk off of synthahol, then
after the episode where the entire crew de-evolved.
Yeah. How did they not just go
How
on like
crowded
a 5-day
would 10
bender?
Forward?
Yeah. Why is 10 Forward not packed 24/7 anyway? I mean, that's
seriously.
That's
having somebody around who like having a wide variety of alcohols so that you can make mixed drinks, because mixed drinks are awesome. There are so many different.
They have mixed drinks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and also having somebody with the expertise and the skill and the willingness to go through the work of putting it together. Like,
now, I have a theory about that, though. I think maybe the reason why we don't see more people getting drunk in 10 forward is because they all have the magic food hole in their quarters, and they can just get booze right out of there. And
yeah, they can get drunk before they go to sleep. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that's what Riker does.
I'm positive that's what Riker
positive does. He drinks himself. He drinks himself into unconsciousness every night.
Yeah, I think my character would have no problem with synthahol. It's like, what? That's I mean, because that's what she's used to, right?
Yeah, because your character would have been,
but we're not.
It would be unusual to us because we're from a previous century, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. And drinking was like everybody's hobby on the old Enterprise.
Because those were the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
When the doctor would pour you a snoot of booze, they're like, here you go.
Or we watched Scotty kiss a bottle of whiskey.
Siamak wants to know, Jason, how'd you prepare your tribble when you ate it earlier?
Oh, I skinned it. It only has like a clutch of eggs and barely any organs. No eyes, not really. A mouth.
Yeah, but like, did you saute it?
Did you cook it, or you just eat it raw like sashimi?
I did it Southern style. I soaked it in pickle brine, and then I battered it and deep fried it. Pressurized.
So it was like trib fillet.
Yeah, so the bones were soft, so you could just eat right through them.
the little tribble bones.
The little tribble bones were soft. You could eat it like an apple.
Oh, that sounds so delicious.
But just not on Sunday.
Yeah, for you maybe. Just not on Sunday. I'm not bringing up Chick-fil-A. Fuck them.
Norman Bookwald is perhaps requesting a spoiler. I don't know how we want to handle this.
Okay.
Norman says, so TNG until 7th season and then 2 years back time travel? Or are we going to follow O'Brien to the station?
So again, this is something that we're going to have to figure out. As you know, the plots of the show really kind of depend on the three of us being together. And I've thrown out some ideas for how we're going to handle this. One of us could leave with O'Brien, because I think that happens, in season 5?
Season 6.
Is it season 6?
Halfway through season 6 is when DS9 starts.
And then the other one comes over to DS9 with Worf. But that doesn't happen until DS9 season 4.
Right. So there's like a gap there that we would have.
We may just finish out TNG and then go to DS9. When it gets good.
Yeah, and just skip the first couple seasons. Yeah.
After the seasons you're making me watch.
Hey, okay, listen. I like the early seasons of Deep Space Nine. I am a stalwart defender of Deep Space Nine from the beginning.
Oh, we know that, Steve.
I think it gets better. I think Jason's right. It gets better as it goes along, and it really hits its stride in like season 4. But season 1 of Deep Space Nine is fucking good. I will fight somebody over that. Deep Space Nine season 1 is maybe the best first season of any of the shows other than Classic Trek.
When Cisco goes bald, that's when it gets good.
Yeah, when he
just click through him. Is this a bald episode? No,
when he goes full Hawk.
Yeah, when he goes full Hawk.
When he's got
when he finally becomes Captain Badass, when he's no longer Commander.
Yes. And when he yells at people, like the whole top of his head flips back like a toothpaste tube.
Mm-hmm. I think what we'll do is we will probably come over to DS9 when Worf comes over.
Well, it would be before Worf comes over because TNG was off the air for like 2 years before Worf came back to Deep Space.
2 of our years.
He didn't join right like after TNG ended.
Okay, yeah.
So we could join after TNG goes off the air.
Oh, sure, boss. Anything you say.
I'm just suggesting. We do whatever it's.
Yeah.
How about you go to DS9 and we'll just finish up the rest of it.
I'll just go do my own podcast on Deep Space Nine.
Then it will become the loneliest ensign.
The loneliest
episode.
ensign.
Or the loneliest crewman.
Yeah,
depending.
Well, no, remember, we finished up the last season. He's now.
I know, but we've still got several years to go.
I'm a lieutenant, aren't I? I'm a lieutenant JG.
You're a lieutenant JG.
Yeah.
So that works.
So I'm still not as high in rank as you two, but
No.
but I'm one bump above an ensign.
One pip.
A hollow pip, just a little teeny weeny hollow pip.
Round pip.
Let me see what other questions we have in the chat.
They don't have any. It's fine.
They just been yakking.
Winged Worm asks, how does Steve Johnson feel about his fake name now being a real first officer? I don't think we've addressed that. Have we? Or maybe we mentioned it and thought like that. Isn't it weird that the first officer's name is my old fake name? I think we might have mentioned it.
I don't think we've ever brought it up.
I don't think it would be like that big of a deal. I think it's something that my character might bring up in like a moment of pettiness.
Sure.
To try to make some kind of irrational point, like,
Like
really,
you do.
Like, yeah, exactly. Like Riker, where have I heard that before? You know what I mean? Like, and then, one of you two would be like, what point are you trying to make exactly?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm just lashing out in bitterness and it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
It would probably be something
used
like
to
that. Yeah.
Well, considering that we left your character had a shitty year and we left you on a high note, right?
Yes. So it's not going to stay that good forever. Well, and I've told you guys both, and especially you, Jason, when we've talked about the show like off the air. I mean, I love when Johnson is having a bad time.
I know.
Because it is so much goddamn fun to play. I mean,
you had so much fun smashing that penis.
Oh my God, yes. Yes. It was hilarious. It was so much fun. And like when it's like with the Q stuff where like everything was going wrong and Q was like tormenting him and it's like the whole world is collapsing in on him. God, that's fun to play.
Steve Shives, secret ham. Actually, no, not really secret.
Not secret.
Not so secret.
Not secret, I don't think. Jonathan
it is
Bell,
playing those big parts is just it's so much fun.
By the way, CMX suggests, as far as the drinking, he suggests that they pregame before going to 10 forward. So people are already
sloshed.
Yeah.
No,
Jonathan,
see, I disagree with that though, CMAC. I disagree with that because I mean they're in a post scarcity. They don't have money. Do they have to pay for drinks at 10 forward?
No.
Then that removes the reason to pregame because that's why you pregame. Because when you go to a bar, it's so expensive.
Like,
so you just make sure that you're taken care of, and then you go get a fancy drink, but you don't have like all the different kinds of alcohol to make.
You're like,
because
I'm getting that.
Give me a gallon of everything.
I'm getting that
you
2 drink minimum,
want
and that's
like
it.
a teeny weeny drink, so it's not stupid expensive, but it has like 7 different kinds of alcohol in it because you don't have. Well, I mean. On my budget, you don't have that many different kinds of decent alcohol. So you make sure you're toasted ahead of time.
Jonathan Bell has a complaint.
You know what I'm going to order next season? What's in that weird red bottle that Guinan has under the bar? I want a glass of that weird red bottle.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Yes.
Gimme.
Oh, you don't want to drink out of that. You don't want to drink out of that.
I do want to drink out of it.
I want to drink the liquid from the magic bottle with the stupid backstory that we didn't need to hear.
Because
what you're talking about.
They're a race of bartenders, apparently.
And Guinan just so happens to have in her personal possession this incredibly important cultural artifact.
Well, remember, Guinan's the most important Elurian ever.
That's true. Boy, if we can save complaining about Picard for a little bit later, maybe if we wanted to, because that might take a while. Yeah, Dana, you're not watching Picard, and you're better off.
And I don't think I've watched. I may have watched most of TNG at this point, but I'm just like,
right. Yeah.
I'm saying that the point, and there's nothing wrong with synthahol. I mean, unless that's not what you're used to. Like, Scotty and they were just like, oh, this isn't real booze. Well, no, it's not real booze. It's synthahol. Get over it. So who cares?
Yeah, cranky old bastard.
Leave him alone.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
So
I wished he replaced Geordi on the Enterprise.
Oh, damn. That's now you're.
Geordi gets on the shuttle at the end of it.
That's a low blow.
Bye-bye, Geordi.
Thanks for giving me your job.
I'm a better engineer than you. And also, I'm getting laid tonight.
I was driving starships while your great-grandfather was still in diapers. Jonathan Bell says the podcast feed episode titles are really long. On some of my players, all I ever see is a long list of the Ensign's Log podcast episode, if that much. Any chance of shortening this?
To what?
So what you need to do is take your phone and turn it the other direction.
Thanks, Dana.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I see the same thing.
Yeah.
I usually only get the Ensign's Log. I have to wait for it to scroll across the bottom so that I know which episode I'm listening to. I could, but I mean, it means taking the out, so it becomes just Ensign's Log, which is
Not
doable.
necessarily. You could just put the number up at the front.
I could
start with a number, yeah.
I could do all of those things
for crybabies like Jonathan.
You have.
I'm
it's
kidding.
An
I'm
opportunity
kidding.
to be creative. Is that so bad?
I'm just having fun.
He's not us, okay? You can say mean things to me and Dana because we don't give a shit about your goddamn opinions about us. But don't you do that to the fans.
We have a rapport.
We have a rapport.
Winged Worm wants to know, on Deep Space Nine, how many times do you think you'll interview changelings? I mean, it could be every time for all we know.
Yeah.
No idea.
That's true. At least once.
Well, it depends. It also depends on how many times we interview people.
For exactly 3.5 seconds, with no one witnessing it, I did a spot-on Odo impression, and I could never get it back again. Yeah.
Odo is, I think we talked about this at the time, like, because I can do an okay Odo at times too, but it's really tough to dial into that exact tone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if one of us
I'm not a monster, Siamak.
I think there's some projection there.
Oh, okay. What? Steve?
Commander asks, it's kind of more of a Deep Space Nine question than an Ensign's Log question, but says, I always wondered why Sisko was commander and not captain. And I think they mentioned that in the documentary, that they originally envisioned him as a younger character. And then when Avery Brooks was cast, they didn't.
They just couldn't update the script to say captain instead of commander.
It was back in the 90s. They were still on typewriters. They couldn't do search and replace.
Yeah, actors, once they had their lines memorized, it was locked in.
Yes, it was Avery Brooks was like, you can't change him to captain. I've already memorized all these commander lines. I won't know who's talking to me.
Exactly. They'll say commander, and I'll be like, or they'll say captain. See, exactly. I just did it there, sir.
Avery, that's you.
Oh, my bad. Can we go back?
There was not enough.
Okay. There was not enough jazz scat in that sentence to convince me that was Avery Brooks.
Did you ever see when he was it was one of his last convention appearances, and it was just him being interviewed on stage by a moderator, and the moderator said, so how are you doing? And he goes, just trying to stay alive.
He's real stoned. He's real stoned.
But
that
in like a
wasn't
really
the hall.
in like a happy voice though, not like in a depressing like he was gonna kill himself, just like just trying to stay alive. Like, oh boy, you are on your own planet, man. Winged Worm says Guinan has immunity to Q's power, so what if the red bottle is the source of that immunity?
Oh, who knows? Maybe.
I bet whatever the explanation is, it'll be dumb and not related to the story being told in the episode.
But we can make up our own we can make up our own stuff.
We can make up a better reason,
and
which won't take much, will it?
And then we can make it the subject of our show, so it won't be extraneous information that slows
it's probably
down.
full of pee.
It's pee, exactly. It's Q. It's QP.
It's QP.
Q released,
which I guess is
the
distilled universe.
Q played a prank on the El-Orients. He was like, they think it's some kind of magic elixir. I just took it into a corner and took a piss in the bottle. They've been drinking from it to summon us for like 1,000 years. Nobody.
She didn't even drink it. She just poured something.
Did she not? I thought she drank it.
I don't care.
How
about that? At that point, my eyes had rolled back into my brain.
I don't care. How about that?
I was just staring at the floor going, I need something to talk to Steve about. May as well finish it out.
Norman Bookwald has a good question. Will Scotty or Spock recognize us? Meaning Jason and I, when
for him to go to Romulus.
Yeah,
but
or that he secretly contacts you or something because you guys knew each other. I mean, if we wanted to have like Spock stuff on the episode.
But when people go, oh, that's kind of ridiculous, you have to take a look at it. Scotty would recognize this and not think it's weird. No, he wouldn't. He's in the future now because he put himself into a transporter buffer for 90 years.
He would be like, oh, you too.
Yeah. Remember the time where the god Apollo stopped the ship with a giant green hand? Oh yeah, that some of the stuff we come up with is not nearly as crazy as some of the original series stuff.
We're vulgar.
We're vulgar. Yeah, Star Trek is weird. Like weird shit happens in Star Trek. So
and political.
Weird and political. Yeah, exactly. Radical Bacon says to me, hey, Steve, can you introduce pro wrestling to Quark? I feel like that has to be a story at some point.
I'm not allowing it.
Space Nine.
It's not allowed.
My character has
to catering to you.
Has to collaborate with Quark on starting a pro wrestling league on the station.
No, I would offer to help Steve, but I'll forget.
And then there has to be a Klingon who is a legitimate fight promoter who is like a rival to our wrestling league and wants to destroy us and shut us down.
I think the most that will happen is that there will be an existing wrestling league called the UWL, the Universal Wrestling League.
I can go with that.
And somehow
but couldn't it be the GWL?
Somehow I convince you that you could be a pro wrestler in this league, Steve. And Quark can be your manager. Actually, and the first people, and I already, because I watched that Q&A, imagine who you'd have to be wrestling against. Number one, I disagree. There'd be no Klingons. There would be no Klingons in the UWL because it's storied, right?
Right. Yeah, the Klingons wouldn't like pro wrestling.
The Klingons wouldn't like pro wrestling, but you could get some Nausicaans in there. Nausicaans would probably be down for that.
Because they'll do it to get paid.
Yeah, I would love to see some Nausicaans do some FaceTime. Do what do they do when they challenge the other one before what do they call that, Steve? You know all the words. What do they call that?
Nerd,
when they taunt somebody.
When they cut a promo.
Yeah, when they cut a promo. Yeah, I could definitely.
Human wrestle. Human have match.
I think that a set of tag team pack-led wrestlers would be great.
Oh my god! And like they don't know any of the rules and they keep forgetting the spots. Like, no, you're supposed to pin me. You pin me and I kick out at 2.
I want to win. I want to win this time.
Yes, the pack-led just decides my mom's watching. I want to win.
I'm going to hit you and you're going to fall down now.
You need to.
Why aren't you falling down?
I'm gonna hit you harder. You didn't act like it hurt enough.
I have a razor blade.
I'm gonna cut you.
Yeah, I mean they always have razor blades.
Mm-hmm.
Not on the face.
So Prague, Kansas says on the next Q episode, get that bottle in the story. I don't think we're in that much of a hurry to get the.
I'm not in a hurry to watch the rest of the fucking show.
There's only 3 episodes left.
Yay!
This season,
and then there's 10 more next year, I guess, and then it'll be over because they're only doing.
I can't wait for the episode where they demystify the Q continuum. That'll be great.
I can't wait until they do like an entire scene about how Picard got. How Guinan got that bottle of whiskey that she got from Picard that was mentioned in one line of dialogue in the Scotty episode.
Oh yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, that we have to explain that. You have to see that. You can't just have that be something that was mentioned on a show.
Since we had to know that Picard, as baby Picard, had parent trauma.
Yeah.
Which apparently that's the only interesting. He couldn't just grow up happy in a fucking vineyard. No, he had to have a psycho mom.
No, happy families are boring. Everybody knows this.
That's the point. We don't need to see.
That's why they skip it.
Anytime they show us baby anybody in any kind of prequel bullshit, it's always just stupid nonsense. It is. I don't care. I don't care how hard your life was when you were a baby.
By the way, speaking of wrestling in Star Trek, Ghost Wheel has a suggestion for the best name ever for the Klingon fight promoter, Don Kling. I feel like, first of all, funnier than any joke, funnier than almost any joke I've ever seen on Lower Decks. I'll just put that.
Just so long as he talks exactly like Don King.
But he's a Klingon.
Yeah.
The greatest fight in the Empire or the Federation.
Get the bottle. I think that would be fun. Break the bottle. The magic bottle.
Oh, break the magic bottle. Yeah.
And replace it and you have to fill it up with something else.
Yeah.
One of us has to pee in it.
Not it.
No, not it. Did you see that liquid? Whoever peed in it is very sick.
It was black.
It was black. Also, how did it go back in time to an alternate timeline?
It's Star Trek.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It fell into a black hole.
We just dropped it into one.
It's as good as anything they ever come up with on the actual show.
It's what happened to V'ger.
Yeah, it fell into a black hole.
Mm-hmm.
Or what they used to call a black hole.
What they now call
a plot hole.
Space.
It traveled really far. Look, it traveled really far. Okay.
You know, black holes don't do that. We know that now. You don't travel anywhere except to oblivion. Yeah, you just die. Except in the new movies, where if it's a red matter black hole, then sometimes you go back in time, and other times. Oh, that's right. All right.
It depends.
What?
Jonathan Bell has a question for Dana. What do Ensign Clifton's passengers, meaning the other entities that have inhabited her body, do while she's asleep?
Various things. I mean, it's an opportunity. I mean, just because they are non-corporeal, or I mean, they're sharing her body, that doesn't necessarily mean that that they don't need to rest as well. And they cycle through it while she's alert, because most of them. I mean, she's made it clear, and they get along pretty well. She's made it clear that her body, you guys are guests, but sometimes they'll communicate with each other. Sometimes they are active in her dreams as well. They sort of influence, what's going on in her subconscious, which they might do while she's awake, because they are there. They're still active. They're just not necessarily out loud, if that makes sense.
Don't forget the superpowers. You have superpowers. Remember, you can heal quickly.
No, I forgot that.
And you have super strength. We'll remind the notes. It probably isn't, but you did super heal once last season.
Yeah.
You did. You super healed once. We're kind of keeping it on the down low.
Yeah. Did I super heal me, or did I super heal one of you guys?
No, yourself.
You have like a super healing ability.
I don't remember this at all, you guys.
You're going to have to re-listen to the I don't know which episode it is. You're going to have to re-listen to all of season 4 to find it.
And can I just say that we didn't make it a focal point of the show, but I think we mentioned it. It was, we made light of it. The fact that my character had baby and it ruined his life. And he stopped at nothing to get rid of him, and basically contributed to him becoming this incredibly evil entity. And Dana's character has baby and several other similar entities living in her body and is fine.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it. It
hasn't ruined her life at all.
It hasn't.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Yet.
I don't know. I could change my mind.
Let's be clear on this. The story is ongoing. But also, I mean, it hasn't been just ideal and perfect. There have been some complications. It's just a matter of, different response. And let's be clear. Baby was its own being and made its own choices although even though those choices were in response to some of Steve's actions,
Yeah,
that's true. And that's what Steve hated about it, was the baby was his own person. That was the whole problem.
Yep.
It's like, but it's my dick. Like, I don't care if he's his own person.
But at the same time, yes, I mean you guys they escalated from each other.
Oh, big time.
Because like Clifton had some of the same issues when baby was not supposed to be talking and baby was talking. I am getting an echo. Are you guys getting an echo? Is it a problem for anybody else? If it's just me, I don't care. But if it's messing with the stream, then I want to.
No, I don't have it.
Okay.
On my end.
I was going to say if I need to, if I'm sorry if I haven't pushed the right buttons, or if like I think it's through the earbuds and everybody's like, Dana, it's coming out through your speakers, and I'm like, I think I'm hearing it through my earbuds. Not. That has happened before.
Yeah. No, you sound okay to me.
Okay.
And I'm sure
yeah,
if it was a problem on the stream, people would be saying something in the chat.
I hope so. So okay, thanks guys. So like I think baby acted out more because Steve tried to be controlling. So it was a continued escalation on both parts.
Let's face facts, Steve tortured him.
Yeah.
Steve locked him in underwear, didn't let him to talk, didn't let him do anything, ruined his relationship with Baylock. There was a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Paul, no, I'm guessing not that much thought went into it.
Paul is asking, was baby not a direct abortion / bodily autonomy analogy?
Nope.
Yeah, not
nope.
Really.
Not really.
I mean, there's definitely
not intentionally.
Yeah, there's definitely some bodily autonomy issues there.
Sure.
If you only knew the level of comic contrivance that went into getting us to the point where Jason's character had to touch my character's penis. That was like the guiding.
That's the intentionality there.
That was the intention behind a lot of that baby stuff when we were doing that story, was we need to get to a point where Jason is forced, in order to resolve this situation, to put his hands on Steve's dick.
You have to remember that a lot of this is improvised. Baby's name just became Baby because that was improvised in the scene. We weren't trying to create an analogy. I could see where someone might pick one on.
Well, and because the situation is analogous. I mean, there are some parallels there. It's not an exact parallel, but there's an analogy an analogy isn't an exact parallel. So yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. And a couple people in the chat are expressing enthusiasm about the prospect of when we get to our version of Yesterday's Enterprise.
I
don't. Which one is that?
That's the one where.
Isn't that where Tara comes back?
Yeah. Well, no. Tasha. Yeah.
Tasha. I was close. I remembered something. The name started with a T.
When the Enterprise C comes through the time portal and reality changes and. Yeah.
We won't remember when reality changes. We change too.
Right.
The only one that's immune is Guinan.
Right.
And we'll probably both be dead. I don't know.
Well, we'll do. I mean, we'll do the alternate reality version of our podcast.
Oh, that's true.
Wait. What's this? We both.
All three of us.
The three of us.
Oh,
God, Jason, you fucking asshole.
Look, it's my prerogative to forget Dana all the time. Sorry, Dana.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I forget things all the time. You don't forget nearly as much as I do. I think that's fair. But I was acting.
I was trying to figure out, because we time travel, we would time travel into a world where we're at war with the Klingon Empire. In which case, we might just quit.
We would just leave. Now, that would be funny if the alternate versions of ourselves were still recording the podcast, but we weren't in Starfleet anymore.
But we're on Earth.
We were just living on Earth, far away from the war. And be like, boy, can you imagine if we were serving on one of those ships?
With our free food and free housing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, I really want to go fight this war.
You had me at free food.
I know. Right?
You have a hole in the wall that gives you whatever you want.
Yeah, like exactly. I'm staying home.
I have all the pie. Oh,
Paul Wilson says, I always thought baby ruining Steve's life was supposed to be analogous to a woman being forced to carry a baby that she didn't want. But yeah, I mean, again, I see how you can read it that way, but that wasn't our intention. And
No.
it was mostly about, at least from my perspective as the creator of Steve, it was about his pettiness and his childishness and his selfishness.
And getting to say penis on the stream a lot.
Yeah, getting to make all those dick jokes that one guy in particular didn't enjoy at all.
It was almost as if all of season 1 was just one giant dick joke. That's true.
There was one member of our audience that really did not appreciate the number of dick jokes in season 1 because of the baby story, which I don't think we toned it down.
Cetacean navigation, here we come.
Yeah, we replaced that with cetacean navigation, which we've gotten rid of, by the way. That's gone.
Oh, I don't think that replaced it. I had an idea for that.
What?
That that in the absence of the cetaceans, because they will have been taken out for their murder trial.
Those in the absence of those cetaceans, mind you.
In the absence of while the tank is empty for however long it's empty, Picard's fish has taken it over.
Oh, that's where he goes when he's not in Picard's ready room.
There's like a tube that connects the little aquarium.
Livingston has a button where he can beam from that fishbowl into.
He's taken over the tank, and if we get new cetaceans to restaff cetacean navigation, he's like very upset about having to give it up.
Okay, so question from me: if cetacean navigation is if the tank is empty and we don't have our cetaceans, how is that affecting navigation?
Well, how did it affect navigation before when they only mentioned it once in the entire 7-run series?
I don't know. I'm not the Star Trek nerd, okay?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, I mean, it was never, I think until Lower Decks, it was never actually mentioned on camera in any of the shows. It started as a joke on like blueprints in one of the technical manuals. I mean,
it wasn't a joke. It was an actual thing.
Right, but it was never mentioned on the show.
Oh no, not on the show. Just once.
Its status as canon was extremely questionable.
No, they do mention it in one episode of TNG.
Do they?
Yeah, just once.
Yeah, but the person who mentions it is probably drunk.
It's Data.
Oh, so it's
so maybe not with the drunk.
So maybe not. Maybe he's high on cocaine instead.
That's right. that. We'll make that canon. The Data is just fucking constantly snorting nose candy.
Data has a huge coke problem, and he gets it out of the replicator. So what can you do?
It's a problem, but really,
How else is he supposed to do all those calculations per second?
Yeah, the scenes we don't see is him sweating constantly.
Showing up to the bridge with like his eyes all bloodshot and.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Mr.
I repainted my quarter 3 times today.
Yes, I'm braiding radical bacon just because. I'd love to learn how to French braid. Don't know how to do that. But yeah.
Ghost Wheel says the problem with your fans is that they overestimate your thinking capacity. Well, thank you for that.
But that's not true. That is not true. It's not our thinking capacity. It is. They underestimate how far we'll go for a dirty joke.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what it is, y'all.
For a dirty joke, you would. Yeah, that's kind of true. Look what we did with Loxana Troy.
Yes, that's right. Speaking of whom,
look what we did to Mr. Hom.
I was going to say Mr. Hom. I think Mr. Hom was my favorite, like recurring. Character that we borrowed from the actual show.
And remember, in the show, she does say that she had to let go of Mr. Hom because of the things that he was thinking about.
Right.
So we didn't make it up out of whole cloth. We made that entire him being jealous of everyone that's going out with Loaxana, based on something that was said in the show.
And I love that.
So yeah, that shows. That shows that we do have a fair amount of thinking capacity. We just, we use it for the dirty jokes.
That's true.
Right. And I
exactly.
Well, take like a little thing from the show as like a starting point, and then build something on top of it. You know, and like you did with Commissioner Ferris, like take the fact that he mentions Title 15 a couple of times and be like, okay, maybe if he's like super hung up on that, you know, and like self-conscious about that, like, I can do whatever I want. Title 15, you know. Yeah, CMAC, I was dying during the Mr. Holmes scenes too when we were recording the episode. That was that. I think
that was a lot of fun.
Some of the times that in this most recent season, when I have been the closest or have outright cracked up during a recording, it was the Mr. Holmes stuff, because Jason, that fucking voice you give him,
Mr. Holmes,
and then he's like
Steve Shives. It's a weird amalgam of. I have to base it on. He says 2 words. He says 3. Thanks for the drinks. That's it. So I had to base it on that, and then I threw some bad German and Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
Yeah.
The governor.
Yeah. You will not disrespect my lady.
You will not disrespect my lady. You will not go near her.
So much fun.
And then when he threatens me, he's like, I will kill you. I will rip your body into pieces.
I will throw you through the bulkhead and kill us both.
Yes, that might be I think I actually did lose it when you said that when we were recording, because that's such a funny line. I will throw you through the bulkhead and kill us both.
Anybody comes after us, I will kill myself and then her.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Everybody gets pie. Commander Tuvok says, I didn't think anybody knew as much about Star Trek as me until Steve Shives.
Oh, look at that.
I don't know if I should take that as a compliment or not.
Nerd.
Well, that's the thing, is like, because sometimes when I think this is it's a point that I think you and I differ on a little bit, Jason, because I think you are a little bit more sensitive to like contradictions and inconsistencies in continuity than I am.
Yeah, I am.
But it's not that I don't, because I mean, I know I have like a memory for Star Trek. Like I know a lot of this stuff by heart. I mean, I feel like I have a pretty good, collection in my head of Star Trek trivia. It's just that of course. It's just that if the Star Trek episode I'm watching contradicts all of it, but is a good story, then I don't give a shit. Then I don't give a shit. I care mostly about the story that I'm watching right now. And if it doesn't match up with something else, I don't care. It's a made up show. But I think I'm in the minority as far as Star Trek fans on that.
You are.
Seems to be the case.
Yeah.
And there are fuck ups. There are fuck ups plenty in our show. I'll give you a good example. Steve, the entire universe collapsing in on itself is because I said Steve's real last name on the show and no one caught it.
And we worked it in,
Yeah. And I caught it when I was listening to it and editing it, and I was like, oh, it's too late. It's in there. And that's when I started thinking about, well, how can because I was already thinking along the lines of some catastrophic thing that's Steve's fault and that Steve was going to have to make some sort of decision. And I just used that as a springboard with everyone saying his real name and not knowing his real name. Not calling him Johnson, but calling him Shives.
Yeah.
And him thinking that it's a huge practical joke.
Right.
That was all it started because of an error in the improv. Because usually you're pretty good at catching me because I will say my last name or your last name. Usually Steve's last name, not so much Dana's.
Yeah.
But it happens.
There's a very nice comment from Andrei Kriskovich, who says, can we all take a moment? Dana's ridiculously good voice acting in Arrested Developments. That episode got genuinely emotional.
Which one was Arrested Development? Oh, is that the one where which one is that? Is that the last episode?
That's the last. That's the one where
Tina has to arrest you.
I assume they're
yeah.
referring to where Tina has to tell Jason that he's going down for time crimes.
We went through a lot of things with the relationship between Tina and Jason, what was going to happen in season 4.
I'm really glad that we changed some of that stuff, because I was really not when it was going to be that it was actually. Wait, we've revealed that it wasn't actually Jason, right?
We alluded to it. I'm pretty sure the audience. Hey, audience, you guys know what happened at the end of season 4, right?
I mean, when your last words are "Here's to getting away with it," like I feel like that's a clue.
But yeah, I mean, when you said that, it had been Jason, continuing to mess with the time stream, and I was like, there's no way that Tina doesn't know about this, and he said he's not, and he's been lying to her this whole time.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
I was so glad that we got rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So glad
the original one was that Jason had been using her time ship to fuck with the timeline, and lying to her about it. But I think we had established between the Tina and Jason character how much they are in love, and how the Jason character just would not lie to her, just wouldn't do it. It seemed too far out of character for him to do that, so we changed it.
Well, like to give his word and then lie about that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, it was a lot darker. The ending of season 4 was a lot darker than what it turned out to be, and you're going to find out more about that in season 5,
which we record the first episode of tomorrow,
where it's going to get really confusing.
Oh boy.
I'm really excited. I'll have no idea what's going on, as per usual.
There's another couple things in the chat I want to bring in, but Siamak has pitched this a couple of times in the chat already, that even though Jason is staunchly opposed to us ever having a sponsor on the podcast, that Siamak thinks it would be funny if we got hymns, which I believe is an erectile dysfunction concern, to sponsor the Ensign's log, so that Ensign Johnson could do an ad read for hymns. The erectile dysfunction. Yeah.
She wants us to do ad reads for dick pills.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Yeah.
You see, I thought it was just going to be made up Ferengi stuff.
That Ferengi dick pills. Ferengi sell dick pills.
Oh, of course they do.
Or ear pills.
That's true. They would be ear pills. Yes. If your lobes are no longer sensitive to umox.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If your lobes don't get full enough.
Oh, jeez, it's so nice to see people who love that episode of with Arrested Developments, because I when I was editing it, I was like, is this too serious for these two characters? Is our audience ready for this kind of level of sincerity between these two characters?
Yeah, and I think I love how I think it's a nice foil, a nice counterpoint to how the show usually is. It's fun to throw in just those moments.
Because we were going to have another breakup where our two characters are going to break up again. And I said, no, fuck it. They've been through enough. You know, the two characters have been between her being an iguana, and then an iguana with a voice box, and then an iguana living inside of a robot, and then
yes,
and now she's kind of this organic android. They've been and separated by hundreds of years and all of this other stuff. It was just like having them break up again would just be kind of dumb.
Yeah,
so
you can only ping pong so many times before it starts to get old. You know,
and
they're breaking up again. You know,
who cares? Yeah. And apparently this worked instead because people cared.
Yeah, we're not Ross and Rachel. We're not doing that shit.
Well, and like some of my favorite comedy shows have been shows that have been willing to get sincere and get serious. Like, I mean, all in the Family did that a lot. And and All in the Family, and our style of humor is very different from All in the Family. Our show in general is very different from All in the Family, but it would still have those moments where it would get super real and super serious, and you would really feel it genuinely. And then like the next line would be something so funny that you would fall on the floor. So, and I feel like our show can get close to that in our best moments, where the characters are well drawn enough that they can get serious and do something that we're not going for a laugh. But then, then something else can happen. The third character can come in and do something stupid and it's funny again.
You're going to get your dramatic beat when you have to kill Jason.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oops.
I can't wait to kill my best friend.
We're going to recreate the ending scene from The Third Man on the podcast.
Can we recreate the Ferris wheel scene first?
Sure.
Because I know you want to do an Orson Welles. I know you want evil Jason to be Orson Welles in The Third Man.
Medha, you're so sweet. They like the one where we got married to that little crab dude. What was his name?
By the little crab dude.
By the little crab dude.
And I can't think of his name, but playing him was so much fun.
He's in my notes. I'll have to go back away. So.
I remember the crab. I don't remember his name, but I remember the crab god's name was Jimmy. Jimmy the crab god, and his name was like Sebastian. It wasn't Sebastian because that's the Little Mermaid, but
Jimmy spelled GHYMMY and then an alien character that cannot be translated.
Yeah. You'll pledge your ever-loving devotion to a crab god whose name is Jimmy.
All right.
Now you'll belong to Church of Jimmy, okay?
I keep meaning to bring in more by the many legs of Jimmy.
Oh yeah, because you're in the church. Yes, exactly.
Because I'm in the church. Yeah.
By the many legs of Jimmy. Medha also asked a question earlier. Says a cetacean question: would the Borg assimilate cetaceans? Because cetacean ops in Star Trek IV shows that at least in Trek, dolphins and whales are very intelligent.
Yeah, I would love to see one. I don't know how they'd work it.
Matthias,
that was his name. Yes, Matthias the crab.
The notes are just like looking through the notes are so much fun. Notes: Lieutenant Commander outranks both ensigns. I needed that. I didn't know that, and Dr. McKenna, the worst Scottish accent.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of, someone brought up how great your performance as Tina was in Arrested Development. You've played so many characters, and Jason's probably played more total characters than you have, but a lot of your characters have been recurring.
Steve, you froze there, Steve.
We got a hiccup, Steve.
Sorry, is everything okay now?
Jason's played more total characters, and then I lost you.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, so I got a notice that my internet connection was unstable. It's not my fault.
Steve, you froze again.
Oh,
I did?
Steve.
What?
Yeah, you
did. Steve's always saying it's not his fault. He's back in character again.
Is everything okay now?
You're fine.
Okay.
You're fine.
Okay.
Oh, wait a minute. You froze again.
Oh my God. You're such an asshole. You were such an asshole.
You earned it now.
The great crab god Jimmy. No, but I think Jason has played more total characters, but Dana, a lot of your characters were recurring. So
Season 3.
You had to have like different characters sort of in the air at the same time, and which I think you did a really good job with.
Not at the same time.
I mean that you would have to come back, not like at the same time, literally, but
Arrested Development. You're playing Dana and Tina.
Yeah, that was a challenge. That was definitely a challenge. Did I have Dana? Was Clifton talking to Tina?
No, that hasn't happened yet.
Okay, it was just in the same episode.
Yeah, I've had plenty of opportunity to talk to myself on the podcast. That's fun. That's great.
It's hard.
Let's all remember the episode where we're all getting together to talk about our plan of raiding the Romulan Section 31 base and all of the characters except for Steve.
You're playing everybody, yeah. Jeez. And I'm just like, yep, sounds good. Yeah. Braden Heckman wants to know.
This is a good question. I like this question.
Okay.
Braden Heckman wants to know, do any of you have dads?
Yes.
In the show?
I assume in the show, yeah.
Yes, but now that we've traveled to the future, mine is dead.
Yeah, and yeah. Steve and Jason's parents, or at least because you have a Vulcan mother, so I guess
my mom's still alive.
Yeah. But yeah, my character's parents are long dead. Yeah, because we traveled 100 years into the future.
Well, your dad
my mom is. My mom's never gonna fucking die. But my dad, whoever my dad happens to be, my dad, you would think is
we know,
dead, yes.
We know, don't we, Dana?
Yeah,
we know who his dad is.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. You know what? For a blissful moment, I forgot that Johnson's mom is alive and living on the ship.
That's right.
I will never be rid of her.
She will outlive you.
She will bury me. On the final episode of our podcast, my character will die, and my mother will be giving my eulogy. He was such a sweet boy.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna miss him so much.
Time to make another one.
Good thing I got that uterus replacement.
I've saved some of my eggs for just such a moment.
She's got them in a little satchel.
She carries them with her. She pulls them out of her purse. Here we go.
Dr. Crusher, I have a favorite.
She keeps them under her breast so they're nice and warm.
Put them in Deanna Troy.
Oh my God.
She's got nice wide hips.
Put them in Deanna Troy.
She won't mind. She's been impregnated before.
She's so understanding.
Meta wants to ask about Uki E.E. Johnson. Will he ever come back?
Oh, Steve, half dolphin son.
Yes, my from the alternate timeline that we accidentally erased.
Anything's possible. That's the great thing about Star Trek. Anything is possible.
Yeah.
We can make up any kind of time thing or alternate reality or whatever we want to bring whomever we want back, either from the dead or from not existing, which is where what was his full name?
Uki E.E.
Uki E.E. Johnson can come back. But he's such a great character.
So much fun. Oh my goodness.
I don't think Steve could actually stand him in real life.
No, I think that
in real life.
If we did bring him back, I think that would have to be the gag that
he's like the ultimate Starfleet officer.
That I would grow to resent him like really quickly.
Yes, you would.
Yeah.
Because you would try to compete with your own son.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's the essence of Johnson is he's incredibly shallow and thin-skinned and is easily threatened by if he even gets a whiff that he thinks other people might like this person more than they like him or think that this other person is better at something than he is, then he reacts very badly to that. You know, that's like his whole thing.
We've had the first guess as to who is pretending to be Splunk.
Uki E.E. is the big bad currently pretending. We'll have to wait and see, won't we?
Yeah, we will. We will.
Also in the notes, never altered the timeline.
Oh my God, some random geek wants to know, is Riker a fuckboy?
Yeah, that's all he's been saying.
Riker's a fuckboy.
Why do you say it like that? You don't know.
It's not an insult.
He could get those women back to his place, and he could just cry at the edge of the bed for the entire evening.
I want is a real connection with someone.
And then it's desperate begging for them not to tell anyone. Please don't tell anyone that I did this, please.
Don't tell Geordi.
Oh God, Daddy.
Snotty crying.
Yeah.
Just
endless amounts of tears and snot.
Wiping his nose on his sleeve.
Oh, they're still doing it.
Just letting it dribble.
Mirror Uki E.E.
Yeah, it's mirror Uki.
Yep.
Uki E.E.
Don't confirm shit that I haven't come up with yet.
It's mirror Uki. Yeah, stop giving us ideas that we might want to use. Then you'll be like, I told them that on a live stream. They took my idea.
We all already know who it is.
Yeah, you can sue us for the royalties.
of our free unofficial fan fiction podcast.
Brad Freeman, I promise I'll stop playing the trombone, please.
Oh yes. He plays the trombone sadly on the edge of the bed.
He plays it when he loses it. He plays it when he loses his erection. Wah, wah.
Womp, womp, womp.
Oh, Meta has a good. I think we talked about that, Meta. That if Steve was in Uki'i's life, that it would have ruined him. That like the thing that made him so awesome in his alternate future was that Steve was not his father.
I think we talked about that on the show itself.
Yeah, was not actually. Yeah,
with you in his life, you guys just wind up becoming basically trailer park people.
Yeah.
Well,
or you just
if
drink
like
beers and
if there's a time skip in there somehow where he comes back after having not grown up with Steve, and then he is this badass, and then he meets, he reconnects with Steve, then it does. Then he still is the badass, but that's when it does not go well.
I agree.
Oh, it's my awesome son.
Yeah, I agree. Mystic Shadows. I hated the fact that Riker ended up with Troy, or that Troy ended up with Riker.
Amen.
I didn't like that. I didn't like it in Nemesis because it felt like, they just did the most obvious thing. I think that was my problem with it. It's not that I have a problem with those two characters being together just, necessarily, but it's like Nemesis was the last
Radical
TNG
Bacon,
movie.
get off of this stream.
Nemesis was the last TNG movie, and it's like, Riker and Troy are getting married, and it's okay. That feels like they just went for the most obvious direction, and that's what I didn't like about it.
You know what I would have liked?
What?
I would have liked it if Riker was all by himself in that big house. And Picard just has a throwaway line about Troy, like, well, she's an emotional vampire now. She's wanted in at least 5 systems.
Oh, my God.
That something happened to Troy that broke her ultimately.
I would feel bad about that.
And then Riker says Shields. Go ahead.
No, because, that means she's dumb enough to get noticed.
But what if she's like a vampire queen and she's got this black ship that looks like a spider, and she sits in a throne, she's wearing all black, and she has people dragged before her so she can suck their emotions directly out of their brain?
Ooh, and the Borg are no longer a thing.
Yeah.
She's destroyed them all.
Ooh, yeah. That works.
Do us all a favor. Do us all a favor.
Well, no, but
Please.
that's the story. It's like she's now the big bad because she's wiped out the Borg, but now it's her instead.
Yeah, Picard is life force now. That's exactly right. Some random. He was in that, wasn't he? Wasn't Patrick Stewart in Life Force? Am I the only person that remembers the movie Life Force about space vampires?
I never saw that. I never saw that. No.
Oh God!
I have no clue what you're talking about.
You were like 3 when it came out, Steve. So
then I don't remember it. Yeah.
Okay, I think Patrick Stewart is in that. Some random week he is in it. Since you're the person that brought it up,
he had a lot of very interesting credits in his film career pre Star Trek for sure.
Yeah, Troy and Worf did work better. For some reason, Troy and Worf did work better, but I don't think that Troy could be into the rough stuff. I just don't see her. I don't know. It would be a new color on her. That would be like bruise color. It would be a bruise color, but I mean,
well, I mean, I always liked Worf and Riker.
Yeah, they were depicted at one point as being close friends.
Who?
Worf and
Riker.
Yeah. There was that episode in season 2 where when they went to the holodeck together and they fought Skeletor, and there was that scene on the bridge where Picard
and both their shirts were off and they were breathing heavy and they were sweating.
And Picard was like worried about Riker. He was worried that Riker would get hurt by going to fight Skeletor with Worf. And Troy had to calm him down because he was like pacing on the bridge like, oh, I hope this is okay. I wonder what he thought they were going to do in the holodeck together.
Who knows?
I mean, your character probably knew because you probably, booked
you probably
the
watched
session for them. Yeah.
Oh, sure. I'm keeping all the secrets.
Fallout 2 Forever has a good question, or a question that we get a lot, which is why aren't the Let Me Listen podcasts on Spotify?
I thought they were. 1 second.
I also get people also ask that about iTunes or Apple Podcasts, I guess it is now.
Because I have been fighting with them for years.
And they ask me about it, and I say that's a Jason question.
I have been fighting with them forever.
What is the source of your fight? Why are you fighting with Apple?
Apple lost our feed and won't let me log back in. So to confirm the feed. So 1 second,
So it's not a personal issue between you and Tim Cook?
It is actually very much a personal issue between you.
You just need to take him out.
I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Like take him out to lunch or like take him out?
No. It's like Jason says. No, the other Jason.
Okay, I don't know. That's not it.
It's like the other Jason says. You have a problem. All you got to do is add a Molotov cocktail. Boom. Different problem.
Problem solved.
Oh, no.
Well, I'll get that fixed. We'll see if I can't get it. I thought we were on Spotify because we download to a lot of different podcast websites. So I'll have to check that. Okay, thank you for letting me know that. That's troubling.
The problem is going to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
I presume it's going to be solved because I don't have to worry about it, which means somebody else knows what they're doing.
That's somebody else being Jason.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if it was up to Steve, I'd be less confident.
Well, and I'd be more annoyed because it will be my problem.
Not my circus, not my monkeys.
But you can find us on tons of other places if you will feel like going outside of Spotify.
Yeah, I mean, what's wrong with SoundCloud? Are you mad at SoundCloud?
Everyone's mad at SoundCloud. I don't know.
I listen to usually when I listen to it, I listen to it through Google Podcasts.
Oh, do you?
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
I just go through SoundCloud. Click.
Okay. Is that it? Everyone's done?
Do we have any more questions about the show or about other stuff that you want us to talk about? Radical Bacon says there's a full moon tonight. Any plans?
I'm gonna go to bed.
It's raining where I am. I don't even know. The old people are gonna go to bed.
I'm gonna go to bed.
You're not old, Steve.
We have to rest up for tomorrow.
You
That's
young
right.
punk.
Because we are recording.
Doing the next podcast tomorrow.
We're recording the first episode of season 5 tomorrow, and Jason and I are also doing the next late seating, our review of Platoon, which I watched earlier today.
Oh, that got you in the mood for this Q&A, didn't it?
Yeah, I watched it right before. I was like, yeah, now let's go talk about Star Trek.
Yay!
With the image of Willem Dafoe's tragic death fresh in my mind. I was like,
yay!
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned that, and I was pretty sure you were talking about Willem, not Daniel.
Well, and also, actually, I texted you that earlier. Dana said, "Are you watching Platoon?" And I said, "Yeah, Dafoe just died." And then I thought, I hope she knows I mean his character. And that I'm not like reporting the tragic death of Willem Dafoe.
Well, in that
Willem
case,
Dafoe died?
In that case, I would know that you meant Willem Dafoe and not Daniel.
No, Daniel Dafoe is definitely dead already. Willem Dafoe
exactly
is not. Yeah.
Okay, if you say so.
You didn't.
Okay, people just started asking questions because they think we're going to go away.
Is that always the way? Okay, we're going to wrap up. Oh, more questions. That's cool, though. David C. Drake says, how tempted are you to jump forward to do Ensign's Log episodes of Picard?
Wait, what? No. Come on.
After this season, not very much at all.
Aw.
No, I mean,
Jason,
how would we get in there? Number one.
Well, yeah, we would be stowaways on their little tiny ship.
Yeah.
Very
if you want an entire season of, well, number one, it's a short season. It's only 10 episodes.
Right.
of us whispering to each other because we're locked inside of a storage locker on that stupid fucking ship.
And like one of the Rios holograms keeps coming by and pestering us.
I think the Borg Queen is outside.
Why would the Borg Queen be on this ship? That makes no sense.
I'm gonna go shoot that murderer.
Oh, you love calling Girardi that murderer. That's my favorite.
She's
thing
that murderer.
That's my favorite thing about talking with you about Picard, because you always bring her up and you're like, and then they're talking to that murderer. Like, God, I love it so much. But this season, like, I don't know, Jason, do you agree with me that so far this has been the worst season of any Star Trek show ever?
Yes.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is saying something.
The last episode of Picard was so embarrassing that I texted Steve.
Yes.
It was so embarrassing that I literally went to the scan bar and I scanned past the embarrassing thing because I just couldn't. I think she started the very first line of that song and went, nope. And I just went right past it.
When she started singing Shadows of the Night. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy.
Which is such a good song. I love that song. It's my favorite Pat Benatar song.
Oh, golly.
My hand hovered over this last episode when she walked into that bar so she could break a window.
Yeah.
Oh.
Here's a question.
reason.
Why did she have to walk into the bar to break the window
Why
when she
couldn't
could have
break
just
it?
broke the window from the outside?
Wouldn't it
Here's
be more of
another-
a rush to break it from the outside?
Here's another question. When they saw the broken glass, when 709 and I don't know, the drug addict, Raffi, whatever.
The drug addict.
She's addicted to everything.
You have like the most judgmental nicknames for these characters. The murderer, the drug addict.
If it's not Snake Leaf, then apparently she has a problem with drinking too.
Yes.
Why is it that when she saw the broken glass, 709 had to pick up a bottle and throw it on the ground?
To see how the glass broke. She was doing detective work.
She's
No.
learning.
She's
wasn't.
learning. Yeah, I have no idea. That didn't make any sense to me either.
It didn't make any sense at all.
I'm so glad I haven't watched the show.
You're not missing a fucking thing.
I would be. Oh, yeah, you're not, and it would probably be painful to you because you have a much lower tolerance for bad shows than I do. But it would be fascinating, Dana, for you to watch it, and then we could talk about it just in terms of writing mechanics, because for me, that's what makes it so bad. Because like I have been generally positive or at least optimistic about the new shows up to this point. Like this is the first season of the new live action shows, at least, where I have thought, okay, this is just a bad show. You know, where I haven't found like very many positive things about it at all. And the big thing that makes me feel that way, that sets it apart from the other stuff and makes it like that much worse, is the writing is just fundamentally bad, like in basic ways. Like characters don't have motivations. There's no clarity to the plot. Like episodes begin and end in really, really weird places. It's just like it feels like there's been some kind of mistake. Like, did they edit this episode wrong?
Well, I mean,
Picard
like,
can't recognize his own father until it's convenient for him to recognize his father.
Yeah, wouldn't he know what his dad looked like?
No, I was thinking we could do a spinoff. Maybe I don't know if I could make it through a whole episode. I don't know, having not watched it, but just with you talking about it, I'm not a completionist at all.
Oh yeah, you would.
Like,
and honestly, if I wasn't reviewing it for the channel, I might have stopped watching it by this point too, because it hasn't. I mean, there's nothing about the story that has grabbed me at all. I mean, I know.
I wasn't done. Steve.
I apologize. Oh, God forbid I interrupt you, because you would never done that.
Can you let her talk?
Can I get a word in?
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me,
You're right.
sir.
I apologize.
But I think it would be interesting to talk, like to do not really a review, but to use a show to talk about, story and writing. And and we could call it Trek disparagingly.
I like that.
But I don't think I can make it through a whole
He's trying quickly to change the subject.
No. I would love that.
To go back to his point.
No, but
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I could do it.
The bully pulpit is back to you, Steve. Please.
You have a very low tolerance. You have a low tolerance for bad stuff, Dana, and you're like,
life is too short, you guys.
That's
whereas Steve will watch an entire season of Titans.
Now you're gonna do it. Now you're gonna do it.
Go back and watch the second. Like he talks about how bad that first season was. Watch the entire second season.
It's like watching him burn himself on a stove over a stove burner on purpose,
over and over and over again.
Why are you doing that?
And then take a break for like months, and then be like,
time to burn myself on the stove again. Maybe if I touch it this time, it won't hurt. Arcane Flame says,
I love this question.
I think it's mostly teasing, but I do take a slight objection to it. Arcane Flame says, Steve has been down on Trek since Buster Keaton was on Disco. Was that his high point of Trek and everything goes down from there because nothing can compare to Keaton on Trek? No, that was really cool though. That was really cool because not only did they watch a Buster Keaton movie on an episode of Discovery, they watched my favorite Buster Keaton movie, which is also my favorite movie, period. And that was really cool. But I've liked other. I mean, I there were a couple episodes from Discovery this past season that I thought were excellent. It's just overall the season eventually kind of wandered off, and I was just like, oh, geez, they completely lost control of this thing, you know. But there were some episodes from this most recent season that I thought were excellent.
And boy, I want to commit that amount of time for 2 good episodes of a season. Yeah, you had 10 shots. You weren't doing a 24. You know, I mean, like on the old Star Trek, you got 24 episodes, 12 of them were good. That was a good season, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
2 out of 10 isn't a great record. And I'm just, that's why I tried to start watching it again.
And couldn't. That's like our football team. I think we're doing better than that in more recent years, but we had some seasons where it was just not good, and some of our wrestling team was great.
But you're absolutely right. Arcane Flame, is that the person that asked the question?
Yes,
you're absolutely right. That's exactly what happened.
I saw Buster as soon as I saw the next episode and Buster Keaton wasn't in it. I was like,
here's the scene. He was watching it. That scene came up where they were watching Buster Keaton. All the blood rushed to Steve's head. He came up elated and happy.
Yes.
And nothing was going to match that from that point, but Steve didn't realize that.
I was so giddy.
I can't wait to see what Buster Keaton. Yeah.
It's like what they say about drugs.
I wonder if I'll watch a Charlie Chaplin movie in the next episode.
That first high. You keep chasing that first high and you never get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, and you're right. But speaking of Star Trek shows, Jason, since you are now, I think against your will, or at least without your prior knowledge, a Paramount Plus subscriber now. I would be curious to hear either just, privately between the two of us, or, on one of our extended versions of late seating when we do that for the patrons.
Sure.
If you watched an episode or two of Star Trek Prodigy and see what you thought of that, because that of all of the new shows, that is the one that I expected to like the least going in, just because it's aimed at kids. It's like it's designed to be a kids show, and I figured, well, it just won't be for me, and I have really enjoyed it, and it's like multi-episode story arcs.
Let me put it to you this way. I'll put it to you this way. I'll watch it. I will admit I had been a little bit curious about it. Mm-hmm. Just because it's geared towards children doesn't mean jack shit. And I'll give you this example. The guy who's currently doing The Mandalorian, Dave Filoni, was doing series. We're doing series for television that were better than anything that was being produced by the studio.
Yeah.
Okay. He did Rebels, which is my personal favorite. But he had really taken and created characters that became fan favorites, right? Mm-hmm. Like Ahsoka. Everyone hated Ahsoka when that character first debuted. It was on Clone Wars, I think. Mm-hmm. I think it was Clone Wars. and then she made some appearances in Rebels, and now very smartly they said, "Hey, Dave, how would you like to take over and do The Mandalorian?" And he said yes, and The Mandalorian is the best Star Wars thing that has come out since the original movies. They're better. The Mandalorian is better than the fucking sequels that came after. Well, much better than the prequels.
Oh God, yeah.
So if the same thing happens where the studio gives the talented writers and the people with real imagination a thing that they consider just for kids, doesn't mean that those people won't get recognized if they're doing good work. And with any luck, they could take those writers and say, "Hey, we're developing a new live action series. What would you like to do with it?" And maybe those writers, because the ones they have now are shit. And I'm going to just say that out loud. They're just, I haven't been impressed with any of it. I've really become disinterested in what's currently going on in Trek. Well, no, I'm not disappointed. It's just Trek I don't like. It's not like it's stabbing me in the back. It's not the first time.
It's not the first time. That's what a lot of people.
But at the same time, like, being a Star Wars fan, and I remember how I remember what it's like, and I mean that was a pivotal experience for me. Was when the prequels came out, and it was crushing. That was, I mean, that's very much shaped how I still think about movies that are coming out. It's like, oh God, please don't let it suck. I mean, and other things too. And so when there's something that you love, you want the new stuff with it to be good. I mean, obviously you'd like it to be like fabulous.
Sure.
And sometimes it's not, but if it's good, it's like, okay, that's great. I can still enjoy it. But when it comes out and it's just like so bad that you don't like it at all, that just sucks. I mean, yes, you do still have the other stuff that you love that you can go back to, and that's great. But man, when you had your hopes up and then they get dashed, and it's on, and it's dealing with something that matters to you, that you care about, it sucks. It does suck.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not going to discount Prodigy is computer animated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And that does kind of remind me of like Rebels and the other things that are, because those shows actually made me give a shit about characters that I didn't like. Like for example, Anakin Skywalker. Didn't care for him in the prequels, did not give a damn. But it was when they introduced Ahsoka and they got a chance to develop Anakin's character.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Now I kind of like this guy. It makes more sense. They were more. He wasn't being written by George Lucas. It wasn't his. I'm sorry, but it's true.
And here, Jason, are you sorry?
No, for what?
You said he's not written by George Lucas, and then you said, "I'm sorry."
Oh no, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry that he isn't.
Let's be clear on that. Oh well, no, you said I'm
and
sorry.
And also, I want to agree with someone else.
You said that about George Lucas.
I also want to agree that Jon Favreau has had a lot to do with The Mandalorian as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I would actually rather give more credit to Jon Favreau, because I'm not nearly as impressed by Filoni as you are. But
I am.
I mean, I know.
Yeah,
but I think Filoni's greatest strength is also his greatest liability, which is he's a huge fucking nerd. And I think often when you have someone writing or being a showrunner for a thing that they're a huge nerd for, that the nerdiness gets in the way of them being a writer. And I think, especially with the second season of The Mandalorian, that happened big time with Filoni.
I see. No, here I strongly disagree with you. Strongly disagree with you.
What a shock! What a shock!
So, yes, Filoni's a huge nerd, but I think he was really good about reining that in. But I think the money saw that the fan service was popular, and they pushed for more of it.
Yeah, I think the studio did push for more fan service. They knew that he
had the know-how to make it fit and make it at least make sense. I guarantee you that's investor push.
I think I mean, maybe you're right. I think season 1 of The Mandalorian I think I think season 1 of The Mandalorian definitely. I would argue that they did a good job. Actually, I mean, there was very little fan service at all in the first season of The Mandalorian, which, looking back, is one of the things that I really, really liked about it. Was that it was a Star Wars thing, but it felt different. It felt fresh. It wasn't just, it was new characters and, new stories and situations that were set apart from what the movies had been about. And then in season 2, it was like, well, anyway, never mind that. Here's a bunch of Easter eggs, and I was like, and because I know that Filoni is a huge fucking nerd and a prequels apologist, I instinctively just kind of shook my fist and went, Filoni, you fucking nerd, you ruined it.
Well, he is a prequels apologist because he managed to take the base stuff in the prequels and turn it into something good.
Yeah.
And that was the main thing, is that he turned characters, he really examined, for example, the clone troopers were nothing in the movies. They were nothing. And he managed to take the clone troopers and really examine, Jesus, these are people. Yes. These are people. They may be clones, but they're actually people, and they're being used and manipulated in some pretty heinous ways to get them to do the bidding of what is going to become the Empire. And he doesn't let us forget that, right? They're not in the movies.
No. Better than that. He does let us forget that. And then he goes back and reminds us.
Oh, that's true. He does let us forget it, and then he comes back in.
Yes.
In which he reminds, oh, by the way, these are people. Guess what? They're people. And he gets you to care about them. They're all clones, but he manages, who was doing the voice work for it? Was it,
I don't know, but yeah.
That guy worked like crazy, because he was doing the voice of every single clone trooper in the show. Now we're talking about Star Wars. I don't care. But I think that Star Trek right now, their mainline writers for the current group of shows aren't good. And I know you don't care about canon, and I know you don't care about stuff, but it often feels like the people who are writing these shows had Star Trek described to them, and not that they watched them. And that's my main problem with the show is, yes, I'm the person that says, let's do something different. Now, if this had been a show about not Starfleet people, like not at all, like some other group or something like that, do something like Firefly, but in Star Trek, where they're not part of the Federation, or maybe they're actively trying to get around Federation rules and regulations, but it was set in the same universe. They could write whatever they want, but if they're going to have Starfleet people doing Starfleet things, they better goddamn feel like Starfleet.
It should make sense.
That's something that I have found interesting, especially now that you and I finally have, you and I, Jason, have a season of the new shows that we both agree on, and unfortunately, it's that we both think that it's bad. But yeah, like. And I get it now that I've been giving negative reviews to the Picard episodes. I've had a lot of people leaving comments on my videos and being like, yeah, and they're making a lot of the same criticisms that you've made that I just either don't agree with or don't think are important. Like you said, it's like they've never seen Star Trek, or they don't know anything about Star Trek. And I don't know if that's true, and even if it is, I don't think that's a problem. I don't care about that.
I mean, Nick Meyer didn't know anything about Star Trek when he wrote, but that's
the example I always go to, because he was the best Star Trek director.
But he knew the characters. Well, right? He didn't do anything with the characters that was too extreme or too out of character or too weird, right? When he sat down and he wrote Wrath of Khan, right?
He co-wrote it and directed it.
He co-wrote it. Yeah. I think the co-writer probably put in a lot of the stuff like, well, Kirk wouldn't do that. And Spock wouldn't do this. And McCoy definitely would never say that. No one says kiss my ass, or anything like that. So he had guidance.
I think the characters can be described to you. You know what I mean? And then once you have a sense of the characters, if you go with and you understand the feel of the story, you know what it should feel like. You should have a sense of it.
Yeah. Well,
you don't have to have the rest of the trappings.
Where it used to be a very common thing in TV, going back, decades ago, where a writer would come in to write an episode of a show, and they weren't necessarily experts on the show. They knew the basic premise. They knew the basic characters. They had an idea for a good story. They would maybe discuss it with some of the producers to make sure that they, got everything right. But they weren't nerds for the show. You know what I mean? They hadn't seen every episode. They hadn't memorized everything about it. And it usually turned out fine, because you don't need to have an encyclopedic knowledge of the show in order to be a good writer for it. I would say, in fact, because someone mentioned earlier, like, oh, Steve, you know so much about Star Trek. Personally, I think if you have that level of product knowledge, but you're not able or willing to set it aside in order to tell a good story, then then it becomes a liability. Because then you end up with stuff like, unfortunately, like a lot of what the second season of Picard has been, and like a lot of what Lower Decks is, even though it's meant to be a comedy, it's not trying to be a serious show, but still it's the same thing. It's just clutter. It's just extraneous stuff that you throw in because you're a nerd and you like, oh, people like to see this and people like to see this.
It's harder.
It detracts from the story.
There's a reason that Murder Your Darlings is a thing. And what you're talking about, Steve, is it's harder when you have more darlings. Like when you're really into the show, you have more darlings, and you have to be willing to say, well, this is not in service of these characters and this particular story. Sure, maybe that's great, something I can use somewhere else, but I have to take it out of this and save it for where it fits better, because it doesn't fit here.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest complaints about all of the live action shows up to this point, including the seasons of Discovery that I have mostly liked, is that the season-long storytelling has been mostly kind of bad. And it's a little frustrating that they've done 4 seasons of Discovery and now 2 seasons of Picard, and they haven't figured that out yet. And it's not like it's impossible, because there are other shows that have done serialized storytelling with 6, 8, 10, 13 episode runs. So it's not the number of episodes that's the problem, because some people say, well, they need more episodes. Daredevil on Netflix had 13 episodes. The first season of that was fucking great. There may have been a couple episodes here and there in those 13 that maybe felt a little off or a little sluggish, but overall you finish that season and your feeling is not like, oh, that was a badly paced show. With the Star Trek shows, even the seasons that I have liked, there are stretches of it where you're like, what were they thinking there? Like, why can't they figure this out? And they haven't figured it out yet. And this current season of Picard, it's worse than it's ever been, to the point where I'm thinking it's just a bad show. Like, it's not a show that has some problems. It's a bad show because it's so poorly written on a basic structural level. And, that's a little bit frustrating when it's like, this is their 6th try at this and they're getting worse at it,
Well, that most recent comment by Brad is very sweet.
What?
I mean, he's completely right, obviously, that he thinks Lower Decks is very funny.
Oh,
and not as funny as Ensign's Log, though.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, thank you.
But he's totally right.
We try.
Self-praise is cheap praise, and our show is very different from Lower Decks. But I agree, our show is way funnier than Lower Decks.
No, thank you, Steve.
I mean, self-praise may be cheap praise, but that doesn't mean it's wrong.
I mean, it's not fair. It's not fair because I'm on the show, and of course I'm biased, and our show is very different, but to me, it's not even a contest. Our show is way funnier than Lower Decks.
One of the things that I try to avoid is that I want to make sure that the people are following the main characters and not tuning in for member berries. Remember this? Remember this? Remember this from the show? Remember this from the show? We do have it in it. There are things in the show that directly lead to what's happening with the main characters, but I would like to think that the show is character driven and the comedy is character driven.
Well, and with me being in there, it's certainly not about what's going on in the show. I don't know. Y'all tell me and I'm like, wait, let me write that down.
We've made that as part of your character as well. Yeah.
But see, and that's Dana's relative lack of Star Trek knowledge is an example of what I was talking about earlier. She doesn't need to know everything about Star Trek in order to do good on our show. She just needs to be good at playing her characters, which she is. You know, that's all she needs to worry about.
People are asking questions in the thing, and we've been just arguing about Star Wars.
So
Bobby Tower says, how much do you think the streaming format detracts from the viewing experience?
Not at all.
Yeah, me either. I don't think that's an issue at all.
Unless, of course, I mean, here's the inherent risk. If you're streaming a show and all the episodes are out and you have the full season there and you can binge it, you're more likely to binge the entire thing than say I'll honestly, this is the honest truth. The only reason I'm watching Picard season 2 is because for some reason I found out that we had it. My wife got it for something completely unrelated. And I decided, you know what? I really didn't like season 1 of Picard. I was not interested in season 2, and Steve seems to be suffering alone. So I will. I
will add to the suffering, and we can bitch to each other.
Yeah. And so I started watching it. I don't like it, but I can also see, I think it was very funny that midway or about midway through the season, they put out a hastily made trailer for season 3 where they said, but guess what's going to happen next season? All the original cast members are back. You're going to want to watch that, because I have a sneaking suspicion that because they're only dropping these once a week, the likelihood that someone's going to give a shit and come back to watch the next episode of Picard isn't that high. If Steve wasn't watching Picard, I wouldn't be watching Picard right now.
Right.
I'm only doing it so I can commiserate with him when I text him at 11:30 at night. What did I text you yesterday when I watched it?
It was funny. Let me look it up and I will.
11:30 at night. Now 11:30 at night. Your time?
His time.
My time.
Okay.
Our time.
I was like, what?
I make general assumptions that Steve doesn't sleep.
And actually, it wasn't quite that late. It was 9:30 my time, but I was still
okay. Good. All right.
But okay, first you said you need to let go of your hope for Picard. To everyone who says I'm just hating on it. No. I do. I would love for it to get better. And then you said next episode, Picard almost remembers his potty training trauma.
I put the almost in there because that's everything in this in Picard is almost.
Yeah.
We almost find out what's going on, you know.
It reminds me the Picard stuff with like, you know, suddenly remembering like this childhood trauma. It reminded me, and I never thought I would ever be able to say that something from Star Trek reminded me of an old Andrew Dice Clay routine. But for the first time ever, Star Trek made me think of an Andrew Dice Clay routine where he did a line about how he went to a Barbra Streisand concert, and Barbra Streisand like introduced a song by describing like something bad that happened to her as a child. And he gets really frustrated with this, and he goes, "Why is it when these people get to be 50 and 60, all the shit that happened when they were 3 years old is fucking bothering them?" And I'm like, that's Picard.
Like, no. See, with that, it's because of our American healthcare system. It's when they get to be successful and rich and can afford a therapist who points out that there's all this terrible stuff that happened to them when they were a kid, and the rest of us just don't know.
Are there more questions?
There may be, but I'm starting to squeak.
Yeah, we can we can wrap up because it's getting close to Dana's bedtime.
I'm turning
close to my bedtime too.
As I do.
You are pumpkining. Yeah.
I'm pumpkining. Yeah.
That's okay. Me and Jason will hang out for several more hours off the air and talk about
Picard.
Fine.
Talk about Picard. But anyway,
go talk about your Star Torque track.
Star Torque.
That's that.
That's
wrench.
Go talk about Star Torque.
That's gonna be Fast and Furious 10. Star Torque.
Oh, Star Torque. I mean, they're basically driving cars in space anyway.
I can't wait until they're on the moon. I cannot wait until they're on the moon.
I want to see. I want to see that lunar buggy race.
I do too. I can't wait. This is the dumbest, most popular franchise in the world, and I love every last dumb moment of it. I'm so glad I've never paid money to see it in the theater, but oh boy,
currently. But remember, there were quite a few Police Academy movies too.
That's true.
But they don't match. They don't match it. They don't hold a candle to the Fast and Furious movies.
And they weren't nearly as expensive to make.
Nope.
Well, everything was cheaper back in the day.
One last question from Meta, who asks, and then we'll wrap up. Meta says, I was wondering how you guys feel about the Klingons in Discovery. Jason?
Nah.
Yeah.
I don't care what they look like. A lot of people are upset about how they look like. But they didn't feel like Klingons to me. You know, we had established Klingons pretty well up until that point, and now we have this prequel series, and we're reintroducing the Klingons, and they're also different. And aside from the weird thing that can send a message, and you know, and all of the Klingon politics and they just didn't feel like Klingons to me. That was the only thing that bothered me. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't care what they look like. If someone wanted to go ahead and redesign the Andorians so they look more like insects, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'd have a problem if they changed who the Andorians were, right? What was already established for these. At that point, just make your own fucking science fiction show. Stop. Don't just you know, plenty of other people are doing it.
Or make up a new Star Trek alien. And just make them however you want.
Or make up make up something new. How about that?
Yeah.
You could make up something new. The universe is big. And you can make up just fucking anybody. The Cardassians came from nowhere. But apparently we had a war with them fairly recently.
An off-screen war.
And no one went, whoa, where did they come from? We introduced them gradually, and then they became like a major part of DS9, and then they disappeared like a fart in the wind from the rest of the shows. But it didn't bother me that they were introducing this new group of aliens, and I liked it. They were not Romulans, which I don't think they ever figured out what Romulans were. No. I have this sneaking suspicion they just never figured out what Romulans were.
They're sneaky Vulcans.
Sneaky Vulcans. Mm-hmm. But eventually they just became Vulcans. Yeah. With emotions. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't care about how they looked either, the Klingons in Discovery. The only thing I've ever said about it was because they did look so different, it took me like an episode or two to adjust to it. But after that, it was fine. Like, and it was never something I was upset about. Like a lot of people had a really like visceral, oh my God, they ruined the Klingons. Like I never thought that or felt that at all. I just thought, okay, that's different. I'm going to have to get used to that.
There were other things to be upset about.
Well, but the other thing, my biggest problem with the Klingons in the first season of Discovery, and again, as with most of my problems with the newer shows, it's like a structural thing. They spent a lot of time on the Klingons in the show, but ultimately, very little of what the Klingons did wound up being important. You know, it felt like we did spend a lot of time, like we got to see Klingon ships and Klingon costumes and see a little bit about Klingon politics, et cetera, but none of it really mattered. It didn't really make a difference. So why do I care about the great houses coming together to light the signal or whatever? Like, it doesn't matter. It didn't mean anything to the ultimate. They had a whole war with the Klingons in that first season that barely even factored into the story.
Well, remember they switched gears in that first season when we all of a sudden were in the mirror universe.
They spent like 4 episodes. They spent 4 straight episodes in the mirror universe. Like, so no, my problem with the Klingons was nothing about that they were different. It was they didn't
that they were poorly written.
Yeah, exactly. They just were like, here's some Klingon stuff that we're going to spend a lot of time. And same thing with the Romulans in the first season of Picard, to be honest. They dumped a bunch of new information about the Romulans that meant nothing. Like, why do I give a fuck about the history, about the culture of the Romulans?
It makes no logical sense. It shouldn't even be here. We shouldn't have to do this.
We shouldn't have to do this.
Whoever wrote this episode should die.
No, it's my problems with Discovery was the Discovery should have been called Michael Burnham, because she's the central.
Michael Burnham.
It is a character centric single character centric show following one person. People could say that, oh, it was the same with TOS because Kirk was the central character. Yeah, but I mean, I just got tired of watching her cry. I just got tired of it. And I quite honestly, when she started the war with the Klingons, I wrote her off. I was like, I don't care what she learns. I don't care what, shouldn't she already know that as part of Starfleet? Shouldn't she know that already?
Don't start
as a
wars.
Graduate of Starfleet Academy, that this is something that maybe you shouldn't do, but whatever. I agree with the person that said we should explore the Gorn. Yeah, we should, but we're not gonna. Want to know why? Money. The Gorn would be expensive.
Just make them look exactly like they looked in classic Trek.
Okay, that works.
And put that old school, like cheesy looking Gorn next to one of the new fancy Klingons from Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Which you know is exactly what the fuck I would do, because it would explode the nerds' heads, and I'd be like, yeah, that's right.
And as far as the only thing that I told Steve this, the only thing that I'm looking forward to is Strange New Worlds. The preview did not blow my skirt up. That didn't make me excited for the show. But considering the writing that has been in the previous live action series, I'm holding out hope that it's good, but we'll see, because I love Pike. I just do.
Yeah. Pike from season 2 of Disco was
best
really
episodes. The best episodes of Discovery were Pike. In that season, and so we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ensign Gorn.
Ensign Gorn, and who is a Gorn, and his name is Gorn.
I'd love it.
I think they need. There was on. I follow the some of the writers of the new shows on Twitter, and when they were writing, I think it was either season 1 or season 2 of Discovery, they had a little like a Gorn bobblehead or like a Gorn Funko Pop thing. It was like a little Gorn action figure that they kept on their desk, and it was kind of like a mascot of their writers' room, and they called him Jason Gorn. So I would like to see Jason Gorn become an official Star Trek character. So we could have Ensign Jason Gorn. And yeah, but he talks like a Gorn. He doesn't speak English. He's like,
yes, no translator. There's no universal translator for him.
Well, no, everybody. It's like Chewbacca. Everybody understands him.
Oh, okay, that works.
Except us. We don't understand. The audience doesn't understand him, but everybody.
Well, there's a lizardy thing on Discovery, right? Is that supposed to be a Gorn?
Yeah, no, he's not.
No, he can't be a Gorn. He can't be a Gorn. Yeah.
He's supposed to be a Saurian.
Okay.
So that's where the brandy comes
from. I want the 3-armed dude that was in the animated series.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be in the new movie, because they have to
arms and 3 legs.
They have to replace Chekhov in the new Kelvin movie, because unfortunately Anton Yelchin died, so they could replace him with that
would be cool
guy from animated series. Yeah.
Depends on who they get to write it.
True.
You know, if it's Simon Pegg, then yeah, I could see that happening. If it's, one of JJ's friends, I don't know.
Brad Freeman in the chat, referencing Captain Pike, says, "Save him from the beep chair, please." No.
No, we can't.
That's the whole point of his character now. That's what makes his choice in the Valley of the Shadow, when he takes the time crystal and seals his fate. That's what makes that such a meaningful act. Because he's knowingly choosing to accept that fate. That's the whole. Yeah, you can't know. God, you can never change that. That would be horrible. That would be It
was one of the only truly stunning things from that season.
Yeah,
was that scene. Yeah,
it's one of the most effective emotional beats that the series has done. Maybe the most, because it's like this is a guy doing a truly heroic thing. And we
kind of did save him from the beep chair, because
that's true.
The Jason character helped Spock get him to that band planet. Which one is it again?
Talos.
Talos.
4,
to Talos 4. So he is free of the beep chair.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it's a fantasy, but I mean, he's happy, right?
Yeah.
Please, writers of Star Trek, please don't go back there to find out that he's miserable. Please.
He's actually really sad.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dana is it's Dana's bedtime. So I think we should wrap up the show.
Fine.
Hey, just come. I'm over here on the East Coast like a normal person instead of in your weird
the coast
forward
that
time.
counts. The coast that counts.
What else?
Anyway, so thanks everybody for being with us.
Thank you for listening to the show, except Radical Bacon. And
and maybe they'll listen to it at some point.
Maybe,
Eventually.
who knows? Maybe she'll get trapped under something, and the only thing she'll have is her iPhone, and she'll be like, "Well, while I'm trapped,
I'll have to listen to this podcast finally, I guess."
Maybe while they're moving all the way across country, while they're driving, they can listen to the podcast.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, so we're glad you guys joined us for this. We're glad you're listening to the show and that you enjoy the show.
Yes, thank you.
And hopefully you'll like season 5 because we're going to start season 5 tomorrow.
That's right. We're going to start it tomorrow. Woo. That's why she needs to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Why Steve and I don't.
That's right, because we don't. I mean, I'm basically already my character. I'm in character right now.
Well,
You're not.
I also I'm having lunch with my mommy and daddy.
Oh.
Before we do.
Oh, that's right, because we're doing it on Easter.
Well,
that's right. Tomorrow is Easter, isn't it?
It's well, yeah. I mean, it's Easter, but it's also the weekend, so I can have lunch with people. it's more. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's Easter, but I have had lunch with my parents on like non-holiday days. So
whatever, weirdo.
Chief dancing
ostrich.
I don't know what that means, but you're welcome. We didn't.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. You didn't do anything that made us frustrated, I don't think. I'm going to rescan the chat.
Jason, you obviously weren't paying enough attention to the chat.
I wasn't. I'm sorry. What happened?
Apparently, Chief Dancing Ostrich did something terrible, and we put up with it.
Well, I did not see, so there you go.
I think Chief
no
Dancing
harm,
Ostrich
no foul.
Chief Dancing Ostrich is often very self-effacing in the chat, so I think that's
okay.
Yeah. No effort needed to put up with you, but thanks for joining us.
Yes, and we'll see you out there in the quadrant.
Yes, as the human adventure continues.
Ugh, okay, yeah, that too.
Wow, so bitter. Anyway, bye
right.
everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye everybody.
Bye.